Hey folks, it's Joe. Before we get to part 2 of my conversation with Dennis Chambers, I want to thank everybody that came out to our live show last week. Also, thanks to our tremendous panel, Clem Burke, Fred Armisen, and Stella Mozgava. We're planning on releasing that episode sometime soon, and we also have more live events in the works, not only in Los Angeles, but around the country. So stay tuned.
The Trap Set will always be available for free, but we rely on donations from our listeners. Please visit our website at thetrapset.net and click donate. Subscribe to our show on iTunes, and if you enjoy what you hear, give us a review.
This is Joe Wong. Welcome to The Trap Set, where each week we explore the lives of drummers. This week is a continuation of our interview with Dennis Chambers. To hear part 1 of the interview, subscribe to The Trap Set on iTunes or visit our website, thetrapset.net. Now I want to play something for you. Around the mid-'80s, videos that you had made started to circulate, drum videos. And this was like viral before the internet really took off. These videos were all over the place. All these drummers were trying to copy what you were doing, or some of them were just influenced by you. And, you know, I guess your style is relatable to lots of people and impressive to lots of people. You're definitely capable of subtlety, but at the time, people were drawn to the amazing technical virtuosity that you had on display. How did that affect your life, like once the videos started taking off?
Well, you know, when people talk about it, you know, I kind of like, you know, me being honest again, you know, I always try to tell them, look, it's not, you're focusing on one person, and the guy that you're focusing in on, you know, it's just happened to be me, but I'm telling you, it's not just me.
Right.
You know, I'm a throwback from what I've learned over the years, you know, and I learned, you know, a lot of things from watching Billy Cobham, Buddy Rich, Tony Williams, Lenny White, Jack DeJohnette, David Garibaldi.
But you kind of were rising up at a time when home video was coming up too. So those things just kind of happened to coincide, which is why you're the guy.
Yeah. Well, but it's just like, you know, like today, you got YouTube, right? So
right.
You take your favorite musician, you know, and that's the focus on the screen. But on the left or the right side of that, you got these little icons of all these other things related to it. And some of those things that's related to it is the history of that person that you're looking at.
Right. You kind of became a personality unto yourself at that point, a name outside of other bands that you happen to have played in or were a sideman in.
Yeah.
So did that better your conditions, like as far as money and
I
creatively?
mean, it helped. It helped money and helped, you know, financially and you know, becoming my own identity in the music business, and people taking me serious where they could, when they hire me to play, they hire me to play, you know, and because they know or they trust when I come in, I'm not gonna, you know, like turn it into the Dennis Chambers show.
Right.
In fact, the Dennis Chambers show don't even exist. The only thing, it's like when they hire me to come play the music, they know that they trust me. I'm gonna make it, you know, make it the best thing possible, you know, at that moment for myself and for that situation. And I'm not going to come in, you know, like turn it into a chop fest either, unless if the music required me to do that. You know, like when I play with John McLaughlin,
right?
Then I'm in that, you know, I put on that hat, the fusion hat, and I'm going for it. You know, if I'm playing, you know, funk, you know, with George Clinton, then I put on that hat, and I'm going for that, being funky as I can.
Tell me what it is that connecting with other people brings to you that
you know,
doing
when
clinics doesn't.
It's like when you're doing a live performance, and you see the group, you know, a group of people in the room, and they're moving, and the reason why they're moving is because you're helping them move.
Right.
That means a lot to me. Or if I'm
Do you
doing
still love it as much as you used to when you were a kid?
In some cases, yes. Some cases, no. But the reason no is because it all depends who I'm with. If I'm dealing with a butthole who's trying to make everybody's life miserable, then I don't enjoy that.
Do you have to say yes to buttholes still? Like, do you still have to work with people you don't like?
Well, it's the only way you learn that they're buttholes. You have to work with them first, and then then you have.
I got to imagine that to a certain extent, you're better at reading people off the bat and knowing when to sense trouble.
Yeah, but see, some people, they can come off as being buttholes, but then when you get to know them, they're
Right.
really great people.
Right. Like who? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, but there's some people, and
Yeah.
and then you realize, man, you had them all wrong. But for me, it's like, to really know, I have to work with them first, and then I have the option later whether I want to work with them again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I separate myself from some of those people.
So you said you started drinking at some point. When was that?
It was right after joining Santana Band.
Which was when?
I think it was, let me see, this is 2015. It must have been like 2006 maybe. 7.
So you were already, in your 40s at the time?
Yeah.
And that's when you first started drinking?
Yeah.
What happened in your life to make you want to do that?
Man, we were gone. I mean, at the point, for me at the point, like I, was missing family, missing friends, people were dying around me, before me drinking.
Yeah.
People were just dying around me and I couldn't be there, for them. And it just made me to,
Are you the kind of person that holds that stuff inside?
No, I don't. But I lived through it, and
Yeah.
I deal with it, and then I let it go. But at the time, there was so much death going on around me. I started finding other ways of dealing with it, and the drinking was one of them. And it was just it just got out of hand, and still was able to do the job. I just didn't do it around the around the gig. I would do it after, and in the privacy of my own, room, where I knew I was going to be in for the night, and I just take a nip here or there, or sometimes I would go to the bar
Right.
after the show and have a drink with the fellas, and then go to my room and go to sleep, or end up being online all the time,
So did you get out of control?
No, I didn't get out of control. I don't think.
Okay.
I mean, because I didn't tick anybody off. I didn't do anything crazy to anybody. I didn't offend anybody. I didn't abuse my body.
Okay.
So no.
This episode of The Trap Set is brought to you in part by Colectivo Coffee, handmade coffee since 1993. Check them out online at colectivo.com.
You're married?
Yeah.
How long have you been married?
Let me see. My daughter is 27. I think it was 25 or 26 years.
So your daughter was born, then you got married?
Yeah.
What does your daughter do?
Right now she's still trying to figure it out. She's a mom herself, and
So you're a grandfather.
oh yeah, I got 3 grandkids, man.
Wow.
My son had 2.
Is he younger than the daughter?
He's older.
Older. Okay.
My son is 37, I believe.
Different moms?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
different father.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, different father. But he's mine. I raised him, and he turned out to be a great, great, great son, man. I'm looking to see how old he really is. But he turned out to be a great person, and both of them turned out to be great. My daughter was, at one point, she was going down this weird path, but somehow she turned it around, and she's just he'll be he's 37.
Okay.
Yeah. He'll be 38 in 29 days.
Does he come out when you perform out there?
When I was with Santana, yeah.
What was that experience like?
Santana?
Yeah, you're playing giant arenas.
Well, it was a very interesting time. I mean, because it wasn't like I didn't play arenas before.
Right.
I did it with George Clinton and those guys, and so that didn't faze me. But it was.
It had been a while though, right? I mean, you'd played with George Clinton, and then you started playing with fusion acts, playing
and being studio guy
in studio. So you were playing in maybe theaters and clubs and stuff like that, mostly for a decade or so.
Yeah.
So
going back into it, it was like it
like
didn't freak
no
me
big
out.
deal.
I mean, because I've done it before. Because when you do certain things for a long period of time, you develop a callus for it.
Right.
And it's like no big deal.
But you were older and more experienced now, so were you able to enjoy yourself more or less, or how did it change things?
I enjoyed myself with him, being around him, because the band was more like another family band. I miss those guys right to this day, not being around them. I don't miss all the other stuff that's around it, as far as like the rehearsals and the constant rehearsals, man.
Really?
Yeah. It's a lot of rehearsing.
Do you not like rehearsing much?
I like rehearsing, but I like if we're going to rehearse things, I like to play those things. Or I don't like getting a piece of music the day of the, or I don't like receiving music the day of the show. I don't want to enjoy that.
No?
No. Because like that's why people.
Some people would look at it as like a fun kind of challenge.
The day of the show?
So I don't know. Some people would say
I don't
that.
think so, man. No, I mean, like, because then you set yourself up for a disaster,
Right.
a possible disaster.
But isn't that exciting? Because if everything is well oiled, then there's no chance of it running off the rails or something.
It's really exciting when the person you're dealing with, would look at it that way. But
Right.
if a person is uptight,
right.
and waiting to jump down your throat if something goes wrong, then it's not exciting.
So that's how Carlos was?
To some degree, he was. I mean, the guy, he was a perfectionist. He knew what he wanted. He had a band that was designed not to fail, thank God. And he just, he just believes in rehearsals. I think, you know what? I don't know why he had set up all those rehearsals. Because normally we have like a
Would
week.
he come to all the rehearsals?
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
He led the whole thing. And that's one thing I have to give him credit for. He didn't send somebody else to do it. If he called it, he was there to give it.
Mm-hmm.
But with him, trying to give him what he wanted. I mean, the guy was constantly hearing things, and it was interesting for me to like try to give him what he wanted, because I knew he wasn't just saying things just to be saying them. He was really hearing something.
Right.
So you constantly go through those changes. But and I didn't mind that. But what I mind was it was just the getting music the day of the show, or sometimes he would change half the show before the show, and you got to remember all this stuff.
Yeah. And he wasn't doing that to keep people on their toes. It was just he was following his own muse.
Well, some people believe that's what it was. He was just trying to keep people on their toes. For me, it was like, man, I didn't need that to keep me on my toes. I had life deal with to keep me on my toes.
Yeah. So you have this high-profile gig, but life is keeping you on your toes. How? What was going on?
Well, I mean, being a father, being a friend, being a uncle, being a family man.
Was it harder to be on the road, years later when you were a father and you had responsibilities than when you were a kid?
Yeah. Because now you're responsible for somebody else's, their life.
Yeah.
And, you have to be there to guide them, through most of it, And in my daughter's case, I wasn't around that much, And every time I come home, this little girl was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, or taller and taller, And calling her, stay in contact with her, and
You lose out on some of
yeah,
that.
you lose out on a lot,
Yeah.
like the first steps, the first word, the homeworks, and because I would come home, and then next thing you know, I was at the computer all the time, still trying to take care of the business thing of it, and
You didn't have a business manager or anybody helping you out?
no, because I had one at one time or a few times, and for me it was like me paying for somebody else for their mistakes.
Right.
So if I figured, well, if I'm going to pay somebody to make mistakes, I may as well pay myself and learn it.
Right. And are you glad that you chose that route?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now you handle all your own business yourself too.
Yeah. But I have some friends, like they're willing to help, if I need the help.
Mm-hmm. Today's episode of The Trap Set is brought to you in part by Revival Drum Shop. As one of the few truly great drum shops in the world, Revival features a one-of-a-kind collection of vintage and handmade custom drums, eclectic percussion, lessons, rentals, and most of all, a fantastic community environment. You can check them out when you're in Portland or online at revivaldrumshop.com. Let's talk about something that you alluded to before, your legacy. Right now, with the rise of YouTube and access to the internet, people can post videos of themselves online. Like anybody can have a home studio with a phone, basically. And I feel like your videos made their way into the gospel community back in the 80s. And now you can't really go to a church, a gospel church, and not hear the drummer that's in some way influenced by you.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, for me, when that happens, I have to tell them, or try to make them understand. Listen, I appreciate your influence by me and with other people, so my friends like Vinny Colaiuta,
Right.
and Dave Weckl, because they're all a part of it too. I appreciate all of that, but listen, you still got to be yourself. The drum community it's a small community, but also a big community. When you a big pebble in that community.
The other thing that you were talking about before is that you don't think of yourself as a chops guy. The scene is called gospel chops.
No.
And people are, in many cases, focusing on the technical aspects.
Well, listen, man, I can't tell you how many times, like I didn't play with P-Funk, like 3.5 hours, 4-hour long concerts. And with P-Funk, it's all groove. And I'll play like a drum fill, real fast thing, And then I come off the bandstand and somebody, will say, man, that's the fastest hands I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And I'm going like, really? That's all you got out of that? That 3.5 hours, 4-hour concerts, and you saw me play one drum fill, and that would hit you the most? Really?
Have you ever thought about just abandoning that whole side of yourself?
No, because no matter what, I got to be myself. Because
Right.
Billy Cobham, I still got a lot of Billy Cobham in me.
Of course.
I got Lenny White in me, and Michael Walden. I got all these people, in me. It's like the same thing with Miles Davis. He took all these people that he admired and put them in a funnel, and what came out of it is him.
Right.
Well, I'm the same way.
Right. Today's episode of The Trap Set is sponsored in part by our friends at Keplinger Drums. Greg Keplinger has been an innovator in his field since the late 70s, making snare drums from a variety of metals including copper, brass, and black iron. Keplinger also designs and builds a variety of percussive instruments from stainless steel and other metals. Check out KeplingerDrums.com for more information, or visit their Instagram page to see their work. Tell me about the health issues that arose in the last couple years.
I suffered with acid reflux back from the 70s. I think.
Would it wake you up when you were sleeping?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times, man, I just knew that this was it. You know, that's how my family going to find me, slumped over a toilet, you know, like can't breathe and just suffocated, you know. And it always hit you when you're relaxed, you know. I'm laying there and like, you know, the strong acid would come up in my mouth and go down the wrong pipe.
Yes.
And I end up choking.
I actually get a little of that too.
Well, you should need to see a doctor.
Yeah.
Because if the longer you wait, the more chances of it, you know, could corrode something or do some damage to your inside.
So what happened in your case?
In my case, it corroded my esophagus line. I had holes in it. But they cured me from acid reflux like 12 years ago.
So this was something residual that happened more recently.
Yeah. I was here like a year ago. A little longer than a year ago. Playing at that same place, Catalina's.
Yeah.
What's the Baked Potato? No, I'm sorry, it was the Baked Potato. Played at the Baked Potato. And the keyboard player, I was playing with this group called Graffiti. He had set up a ride for us to get from the hotel to the airport. And I was staying at that hotel across the street. This lady showed up, a friend of his, gave me a ride to the airport. And she had like this, she had a SUV, limo SUV. And the tires, the wheels were like kind of tall, you know. So, make a long story short, I go in the back because I didn't want her to touch my suitcase because it was heavy, you know. And she was a small little thing, you know. She looked like she was like 125 pounds wet, you know. Meanwhile, my case weighed about 65 pounds. So I get out, I go around, grab the suitcase. It was raining like it is now. And I went to pull the suitcase out, and I'm standing in a oiled grease area and wasn't aware until I pulled that case out. And I'm like slipping and sliding, and I messed my back up. And I thought I was going to fall forward, so I locked my legs to fall forward because I wanted to land on the suitcase. In fact, I was wearing this coat. It was brand new at the time. I wanted to land on it instead of landing on the ground, you know, dirty ground. But when I locked my legs, all of a sudden I felt like I was going backwards. So I kind of pushed myself up, and come to find out I am going backwards. I'm going into traffic. And you can hear car horns hit, you know, guys hitting the car horns. You hear guys slamming on brakes and all that stuff. And when I realized I was going back, I embraced for the impact by holding my breath. When I did that, the suitcase slammed right into my stomach, right on my stomach in my lower chest area. And by me holding my breath, my esophagus line it expanded and went back, you know. When it did that, the little holes that I had in it opened up. So I started bleeding out on the inside and didn't know it. And I kept losing consciousness, you know, like I would, you know, come to and then I would go out. And I come to and I go out again. Next thing I know, I'm in the ambulance going to Madeira. I don't know how you pronounce that. It's a hospital right near the airport.
Marina Del Rey.
Marina Del Rey Hospital, which was really interesting. That place.
I don't know which one you're talking about, but if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's a smaller kind of clinic.
Well, this was a hospital.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and the doctor at that time, man, this guy was a butthole. But anyway, they fixed what they saw was the problem.
Which was what?
They fixed the holes in my esophagus line.
Okay.
Because I threw up like all this blood, and they realized that he's bleeding from the inside. So they put me under, and they put a camera down my throat and saw the holes, and they fixed that. And then after that happened, I was healing and all that stuff, and went and did some more tour work, and I'm in Spain now with Mike Stern, and I was late for a sound check. Thank God, man. Mike Stern got a key, came up to the room, got in my room. I'm laying in the pool of blood.
Mm.
And by the time they got me to the ambulance, I was already in a coma. I had bled so much, I was on my way out. And they got me, to the hospital, and they, did the blood transfusion and all that stuff, and pumped all this blood in me, and I was in a coma for like 4 or 5 days or something like that, I heard. And waking up, looking around, trying to figure out where am I, what's going on, how did I get here, and not seeing anybody's faces. I look, and I can see somebody out in the hallway. It's a staff, out in the hallway, and it was just wild. And they got me tied down to a bed, leather straps on my legs and arms. Cause
were you scared?
No, I was pretty much trying to figure out what happened, what's going on.
Okay.
And why am I in this bed, and like, where am I? I was thinking about more of that than being scared, And the doctor staff come in and, talk to me and explain, what happened to me and all that stuff. And my next thoughts, as I recalled, is like, well, how do I get home from here? Or how long am I going to be here? That stuff. Well, come to find out, with the broken English that they were explaining this whole thing, they were telling me, like, the first episode I had, they could see where somebody had went in and did some work, but they didn't check the whole system. And apparently, through my whole system had holes in it. So, thanks to certain friends who spread like all these crazy rumors, that I think one thing that said that supposedly I died already, or when it happened I had died. Another rumor was that they found me in my room, I drug overdosed, or I fell down a flight of steps, all these rumors, So when my wife got on the plane to come to get me, she didn't know what she was getting. She didn't know whether she was going to come and collect the body.
You hadn't been able to speak to her?
No.
Okay.
No. I was in a coma.
So they called her when you were in the coma, and she came over?
Yeah, Mike, people talked to them. Or
Okay.
talked to her. And make sure, Mike got her a plane ticket to come over and to get me, or to be with me. Got the hotel and everything,
What was your path to recovery after that?
10 years not playing an instrument. I remember playing a few times, trying.
10 years?
No, I'm sorry, 10 months. I'm sorry.
10 months.
10 months, like trying to, just trying to recoup. And I picked up a pair of sticks, and just lost the whole desire to play, because I couldn't do what I normally would do.
Right.
So if I couldn't do that, then I was like, forget it, I'm not going to play. And
were you depressed?
No, wasn't depressed, just kind of confused, whether I'm going to play music or not. And
did you think about stopping?
Yeah, I did.
What was your plan?
Go into car repairs or something, or engine repair.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And you were at a point where it wasn't depressing to think about that? It was just like, okay, well, maybe I'll move on to this next step.
Like I said, man, I never took myself serious, as a drummer.
But you love music.
I love music, but I have a love for a lot of things.
Like cars.
Yeah, cars and, enjoying being around people and, things. But that don't necessarily mean that, I'm going to get depressed if I don't have any of these things in my life.
Right. And your identity wasn't so tied to being a great drummer that you felt like you were losing yourself if you were doing something else.
Well, I just look at it, hey, it was a great run.
Yeah.
And keep it moving. Life is life.
But eventually you did make it back to music.
Yeah, I played a concert with Mike Stern at Blues Alley.
In D.C.
Picked up a pair of sticks and like, man, I found the love for it all over again.
After almost dying, basically, did it allow you time for reflection? Did it change you? Did it change your outlook? Or do you feel like you're pretty much the same person? Do you have the same viewpoint?
I pretty much have the same viewpoint.
Some people will say, oh, now I feel so much more lucky and every day is a gift and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I always thought life was a gift.
Yeah.
Before this happened. So, that's why I say, it didn't change me in any way because, I always treated people, as human beings first. And whatever they chose to do in a career, in their career, that's second or third. But first, treat them as human beings.
Yeah.
And try to enjoy life as much as I can. I've always done that.
How do you feel right now? Like, do you feel like you've made a full recovery health-wise?
Yeah.
You look good.
Yeah.
I remember a few months ago I saw a video that you had put out online to just kind of address the concerns of your fans. And at that time, you didn't even look like yourself. You were emaciated. And
it was because of all the weight I lost.
Yeah.
I was like 144 pounds. Trying to imagine, everybody knew me as, Big D, and I was like 288 pounds, and I go from 288 down to 144.
Yeah.
And
dropped half of your body weight.
Well, I was another person. And when I played at Catalina's, I remember some of my friends, Mike White, came up and he just gave me a big hug on stage, and he was crying, because he never saw me like that before, and he knew something was up.
Right.
Marvin Smitty Smith, the guy, playing the time, he was there, and he's looking at me kind of weird. And everybody's looking at me weird. I'm looking at them like, hey, what's the big deal? Like, why is everybody all gloomy?
Yeah.
But they all saw something was wrong.
Do you think that you were delusional at all in being as positive as you were with all of your friends coming up and freaking out?
No. I mean, because what happened was one day I woke up and my doctor's telling me I had diabetes. And at the time, they were giving me pills for it. And my doctor said, look, let's be truthful here. With the weight that you have on you, you got two options. One is to, keep going down the path you're going, taking the pills, possibly, end up shooting insulin for the rest of your life, which is going to cause some damage to your organs, or lose the weight, get rid of the pills.
So what are you at right now?
Weight-wise?
Yeah. You definitely don't look like you're 280.
No. I'm last I checked, I was 238, I think that was something.
And how do you feel good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I chose to kick, take the weight off. But I'm one of those kind of guys. When I get serious into something, I overdo it. And I overdid that.
So what were you doing? Working out and stuff?
No. Just change my eating habits. Change my diet. Not eating late night, drinking a lot of water. Just changing. The portions of what I would eat. I would eat like I used to eat a big sauce of food. And I eat like twice a day. I was never a 3-day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Never that kind of guy.
Man, you're describing me.
Yeah.
I got to be careful.
Well,
because anytime I do something physical, I can feel the acid coming up.
Man, you need to go see a doctor. I'm telling you.
Okay.
To make sure you get that checked out, because possibly it could end up being something else. Let's put it this way: it's not natural for you to be that way, and if it's not natural, then you need to see a doctor.
Right.
To fix it.
Right.
before it's like your body is like a car engine. You know,
Yeah.
the longer you abuse it and let it go, it's going to trickle into something else, or possibility to mess up something else. But
when you
getting
started
back,
drinking, did that make it worse for you? Made it worse for me.
no,
Okay.
I don't think so. I think it was like all the tomato juice, apple juice, orange
All
juice,
my favorite shit. Like
bananas,
spaghetti.
spaghetti, pizza,
Eating late. All my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah,
things
yeah.
to do.
All of that.
So it's bad for you.
Yeah. Well, it's not bad for you. It's just that you can't do it at after a certain hour. From when you wake up until you go to bed, you can. Wake up till 6 o'clock. You could do it,
Yeah.
but anything past 6 o'clock, you may suffer for it later.
I know you're not somebody that has goals, but what's going on moving forward for you?
I'm working with Maceo Parker, with Skeet. Skeet got me in actually, Skeet didn't get me in that. Maceo wanted me to play with him. Called me up to do some work with them. So, working with Maceo Parker, working with Mike Stern, Niacin with Billy Sheehan. We're going to do that again. I was talking to Scott Henderson today. In fact, that's why I was late getting down here. I was a little late getting down here because I was trying to get him off the phone. And we're going to do some work with the Cab.
All right. Well, normally I just thank people when we hit stop on this machine, but you have an official sign-off. So I'm going to thank you, and you can do your sign-off.
I just want to thank everybody for their love and support and their prayers when I was down. I just want to thank everybody. I went through a very serious, dark time, and reading people's emails, really kept me going. It got me home anyway from Spain, and I still need to deal with those people who started those rumors. If I can find them.
It's not even worth it at this point, right?
No, probably not. But I like to talk to them and find out like what were they trying to achieve with all of that, And my friends, some of my closest friends, you learn who your friends really are. When you go through crisis.
Yes.
Such as that. Where people, if they want something from you, or they can find your phone number. But if something were to happen to you, all of a sudden they can't call you and
Right.
ask.
Right.
And then they're being a part of the rumors that spread it. They spread the rumors themselves. We're going along with the rumors. So it made me realize who your friends are. But I just want to thank everybody for their love, and their support and their prayers. All right, Chambers out.
Wong out. The Trap Set is produced by me, Joe Wong, along with Chris Karwowski, who also edits the program. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Trap Set, and visit iTunes or our website, thetrapset.net, to subscribe to our show for free. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please donate to our show. If you can't afford to donate, share The Trap Set with a friend and give us a good rating on iTunes. Send your feedback and guest requests to thetrapset@gmail.com.